right now. I don't know.
No, in a dynasty league, I just got offered a trade. Some guy just offered me 3 third-round picks for Devin Singletary. Ew!
Hell no! He's been a stud. Okay, music's over. Time to get serious.
Good Lord. The hell's going on out here?
What are you doing, Dillon?
I'm just chilling.
That was so weird the way you said that. Just chilling.
All right, we're taking a break.
Well, I didn't want to tell you that I was doing.
Time. And if you haven't had enough of our banter tonight, you want to visit NFL Addictions on Facebook.com for all of your NFL banter and chatter. It's not a trash talk site, so keep it clean and keep it cordial. That's NFL Addictions on Facebook.com. And if you still got an itch to scratch when you're done with that, you want to visit Raz Addictions on Facebook.com for their version of the raffle for all kinds of cool prizes, even a chance at winning some cash. You buy a $10 raffle ticket for a chance at winning $100. That's a chance at making 10 times your money. It don't get any better than that. That's Raz Addictions on Facebook.com for a chance at all kinds of cool prizes. Tell them what you've won, Dave.
I've won everything from tailgating barbecue sets. That I have a Packers one that I won, folks, for $400. I put $40 down on the spot. I won it, and it was out of 20 spots. It's really worth it. I've also won helmets that are signed. I've won banners that are signed. I've won memorabilia rings. I've won footballs that are signed and other Packers knickknacks because that's my team. But go ahead and check them out. Cheap, affordable prices for certified, authentic stuff.
That's Raz Addictions on Facebook.com. Go there, play, and win. And as always, you can follow us on Twitter at First and Goal Pod, myself at UPJ33, Dave is at Steak and Cheese, and the fantasy wonder himself, Dillon, at Dillon Busby1. Email us at firstandgoalpodcast@yahoo.com with all your football and Packer questions and comments, and you just might find yourself making the show live. That's firstandgoalpodcast@yahoo.com. All right, we're back. Fantasy Files time with the Dillon Wonder.
I need to win this year. That guy right there, he's going to help me win.
No, your music's playing right now. Hold on. Your music is playing right now. Nobody can hear you. All right, go, Dillon.
All right, guys, let's kick it off with a little bit of Week 1 playoffs edition of Who Balled Out and Called Out. We'll start off at quarterback with Mr. Drew Brees, who got it done in a thriller versus a great defense in the San Francisco 49ers. Wow, Mr. Brees goes off for 349, 5 touchdowns, getting it done against Richard Sherman and the boys. I mean, him and Michael Thomas, just the connection between those two, they get it done every single week. It's unreal. Jameis Winston, guys, in a game where he threw...
Time out. Just to be fair, technically, the score that put the Saints ahead in that game, Richard Sherman had limped off the field the play or two before that with a hammy problem, and then they picked on the replacement. So no, technically he didn't beat Richard Sherman in the gang, but then technically Jimmy Garoppolo
played for 9/10 of the game.
Came back and beat him, and they lost.
Jay.
So, like, technically,
Brees doesn't
didn't
play
beat
defense.
anybody in the gang because they lost the freaking game, guys.
Brees still showed out in fantasy. That's the whole point of balled out, who called out in fantasy, not who lost and who won.
Yes.
The hate for Drew Brees is still real.
It really is.
Good
Continuing
Lord.
on. We'll take it all the way back. We'll hop in the time machine and go back to Thursday night. Mitch Trubisky, guys, looked pretty darn good against those Dallas Cowboys on Thursday night. 244, 3 touchdowns, 10 carries in that game, 63 yards, and a rushing touchdown for old Trubisky, which is, of course, fantasy gold, the rushing touchdowns from the quarterback. Jameis Winston, believe it or not, in a game where he threw 3 interceptions, also came back and delivered, gave you an excellent fantasy performance, 456 yards, 4 touchdowns. Jameis also gave you a rushing touchdown on the day. Just an unreal performance. Jimmy Garoppolo at New Orleans, holy cow, 349, 4 touchdowns from Mr. Jimmy G in a game where
Jimmy
Emmanuel
Garoppolo
Sanders
is the guy that people should be talking about. Do you know why? Because Jimmy Garoppolo seems to be getting a lot of crap because Jimmy Garoppolo is in like his 6th or 7th year. But the fact of the matter is that the guy has got like 23 or 24 starts and he's like 20-4, okay? And he's only getting better. He's got some issues, but you know what he showed me? He showed me that although he started to get happy feet in that game and made some mistakes, when it came down to the crunch, he busted through that wall where he was getting happy feet and made some damn good throws under pressure when he got hit in the mouth on delivery. And that's why the 49ers beat the Saints. That's why Jimmy G deserves to be talked about over Drew Brees. Sorry.
Well, here's what I'll
the offensive side of the ball.
Real quick, Jay, and I'm afraid to ask it because I know this is going to turn into
one didn't do it against a bunch of backup corners. Jimmy G did it against the number one cornerbacks on that team, against the number one pass rush on that team. The other one got secondary guys falling out in the game. Yeah, I mean, come on, that's trash. And he lost.
Real quick,
Jay. He was playing from behind all the damn time.
This is the logic you just used. So you want Drew Brees to wait for Richard Sherman to come back on the field to throw a touchdown?
Yep.
Hang on.
That's the dumbest logic.
I got a question. I got a question to move this episode forward, hopefully in a good direction. Okay, so the Packers right now sitting at what, 10, 11 wins?
Double digits.
They're 10-3, but they hold the tiebreakers over the Saints. That's why they're the 2 seed.
If you put Jimmy G in the Packers offense, made him a focal point like Aaron Rodgers is, how many wins are you giving them at this point in the season?
8.
I don't know if I'd give him 6.
I'd give him somewhere between 6 and 8, probably. Somewhere in that range because
I'm going to tell you right now, LaFleur would have to call a completely different game plan.
Off of what the game plan?
Jimmy certainly is good for Jimmy's good for Shanahan. Jimmy makes he's good on the bootleg. He hits George Kittle like he's supposed to. Like when the defense is playing well and the rushing game is going well, then Jimmy can be the trailer. I don't think he's a truck just yet.
Off of the game plans that Green Bay would have with Rodgers if you had Jimmy G in place, I don't think you would have the wins in double digits. I think you'd have 6 to 8 because you would not be able to see the performances.
You cannot tell me that a coach is going to use the same game plans for a guy that's had 14 years of starting compared to a guy that's had 24 starts. Sorry, not a good comparison.
I was trying to finish, and it's the second time I haven't been able to finish my sentence. I was trying to say, if you keep the same game plans, that's what Dillon was saying. Same game plans, same situation. You get 6 to 8 wins. And with that, he will not have the same performances that Rodgers does. That's why Rodgers is on still that next level up from Garoppolo, because of the fact he's able to put the team on his shoulders when it's needed, like, i.e., the Raiders game. You won't see that.
I'm very impressed by that game against the Saints because he did show he's able to win in a shootout.
And this being said, your logic is flawed, sir.
I was going with the question Dillon provided.
It's not like they had a stellar performance from any of their running backs. So, Jimmy was asked to do more, and he stepped up. So I'm impressed. He's not. I haven't seen it consistently from him. I still don't think he's the kind of guy you can put the load on. But that was a good game for him.
I'm mad because you don't have someone on your balled out section for quarterback.
Oh, moving on. Let me continue. Ryan Tannehill.
Thank you.
There he is. Ding, 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 ding. Today's start of the week, Ryan Tannehill. Yes, he went for 391, 3 touchdowns. A big game for him, a big game for A.J. Brown. It was fantastic. He's been a waiver wire darling, as Mr. Tannehill, stepping in for Marcus Mariota, former number 2 overall in the draft. Deshaun Watson getting it done in an ugly game for the Texans all around, where they got completely shown out by the Denver Broncos. Watson still delivered with 292 and a touchdown. Also ran for 2 touchdowns, so that saved you in fantasy especially. And then you had Phillip Rivers, guys, still getting it done, 314, 3 touchdowns at Jacksonville. So that was impressive. On the running back side of the ball, let's talk about Austin Eckler, Mr. Electric Eckler,
The shortest,
taking 8
fastest legs
carries.
you'll ever see.
It fits the Chargers, right? To go from Sproles to Eckler. 101 yards on the ground, guys, which was just insane for Eckler. Hasn't done anything like that all season long. I mean, we've known him to get it done through the air, but to take 8 carries for 101 was awesome. 4 catches, 112 yards, and a touchdown. I mean, Eckler is just, as John Travolta would say, it's electrifying. Moving on to Joe Mixon, had another great week. 23 carries, 146 yards, and a touchdown. Mixon's been on fire. This is what fantasy owners have been waiting for all season long, and he delivered finally in a very important game for you, your first week of the playoffs. It's going to be risky leaning on him next week versus the Patriots, so temper your expectations, but riding that Mixon train's been nice.
Patriots
Speaking
have all
of riding,
calls for the Cincy defense, so why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they stop Mixon?
Exactly. If they hit that gap before Mixon even gets there, you know why. Speaking of riding a train, Derrick Henry, choo-choo, the D train, 18 for 103, 2 touchdowns at Oakland, just a complete monster.
Injured, mind you.
Still not involved in the passing game, only 1 catch on the day, but it doesn't matter when you get the amount of carries that he does. 4 straight games with 100 yards now. It's been insane. I mean, the last 3 weeks, he's had 19, 26, and 18 carries. They keep feeding him the rock, and he keeps delivering. Speaking of delivering, I know nobody really showed out, especially from that Niners game, as far as, really taking the reins. You had Breida, Coleman, and Mostert all involved, but it seems like Mostert's the main guy. 69 yards and a touchdown. Also had a touchdown through the air, so that was nice. And then finally going all the way back to Thursday, Ezekiel Elliott, 19 carries, 81 yards, 2 touchdowns. Saying it was, I wouldn't say garbage time necessarily, but, man, it was toward the end of the game when he scored. And then we've got to obviously give a shout-out to your boy, Aaron Jones, taking 16 rushes, 134 yards, and a touchdown. Also had 58 yards on 6 catches. Aaron Jones delivering, winning you that first week in the fantasy playoffs.
Hey, Jay, Packers wide receiver 2, Aaron Jones.
Yeah. Had himself a great week, and a week that, no one else really decided to step up and take the reins. It was all Aaron Jones. And he's got himself a nice matchup this week as well when they take on the Bears at home. Going into wide receivers, guys. D, let's talk about it. A.J. Brown, getting it done through the air at Oakland. That was, I believe, your stack this weekend, if I'm not mistaken.
The triple Titans.
Yes, that's right. D was able to play the 3 Titans, the rare triple play of Ryan Tannehill, Derrick Henry, and A.J. Brown. Completely blew it out of the water. With those 3 players alone, he might have won the matchup. It was just absolutely insane. You called it, my friend. When you play Oakland, you got to pay attention because Oakland gives it up on defense.
Like, literally, I don't know who they got playing corners, but they're worse than Philly CBs.
Speaking of giving it up on defense, moving on past that remark, Emmanuel Sanders, guys, how about 7 catches for 157 yards and a touchdown? Also had a 35-yard passing touchdown. Guy was 1 for 1 on the day. Perfect QB rating for Emmanuel Sanders. In a game where we thought James Washington was going to have a blow-up day at Arizona, it was Mr. Deontay Johnson who decided to go for 60 yards and a touchdown. Also had himself an 85-yard punt return touchdown on the day. Deontay Johnson looked electric, and the Pittsburgh Steelers continue to look like geniuses and drafting wide receivers.